Last time we took a detour into Michigan on our way to Toronto, and we did so using the same operator running two vastly different aircrafts. Today we are in Toronto and we are taking a break from planes to learn what the deal is with Canadian railways. It's the 16th of February 2026, we've had a 5-day stint in Toronto, and now we've decided we want to spend some time in Montreal, one province over. Both cities are within the Quebec City Windsor Corridor, which is by far the most populated, most well-travelled region of the country. To put it into perspective, this 1,000-kilometre long corridor is home to half of Canada's population, 3 of its 4 biggest cities, and 95% of via rail passenger traffic. 1,000 kilometers is a long way, but not for the second largest country in the world by land area.
Welcome on board train number 64 en route to Montreal with stops at Eubha, Oshawa, Cobourg, Kingston, Rockville, Cornwall, Dorval, and Montreal Central Station last stop.
Our train journey along this corridor clocks in at about 510 kilometers over the course of 5.5 hours, traversing from Toronto Union Station to Gare Centrale de Montréal. For many Canadians, this is a pretty normal journey. However, we come from an island nation of 4 countries ever tenuously held together by duct tape, and even the shortest of our train commutes are nightmarishly expensive. Anyway, now it's 11 AM and we are at Union Station ready to take our Via Rail train to Montreal. We managed to book business class seats 6A, 6B, and 7A on coach 81 for $172.95 Canadian each. That translates to about £93.20 at a price of 18 pence per kilometre or 11 pence per mile. We're joined by our friend Skylar today. She flew in from Stockholm to meet us in Toronto and was apparently stuck at Union for hours while we came in from Pearson.
Ah super, je suis pas française. Cependant, je vais parler français plus mieux que possible en visitant le Québec parce que c'est la première fois que j'ai visité la belle Provence. Selon les autres, c'est la belle Provence. Mais je sais pas. Je pense que c'est Colombie-Britannique.
For the price of our ticket, we were immediately greeted with a complimentary vom bag, a coat hanger, some footrests, a huge tray table, some cup holders, and a truly unreal amount of free space. Not to mention, as this is a train and not a commercial flight, we're free to roam whenever. As someone who is used to cramped economy seats on commercial flights, my broke Cambly ass was not used to being pampered like this. It felt almost unnatural. But regardless, at 11:38 AM our train set off and thus began our 5.5 hours of relatively cheap luxury. The Canadian long-distance passenger rail network has been operated by Via Rail since 1977. Via Rail is a crown corporation, meaning that it is operated like a private company. It has a revenue stream, it has a board of directors, and in theory it would pay tax on any profits made. I say in theory because Via Rail by design does not break even on any of its routes. In fact, the shortfall is so big that the Canadian government subsidizes up to $2 per dollar gained in passenger revenue. Much of these subsidies are for the most remote areas that have the heaviest shortfalls to keep them running, like Winnipeg to Churchill, Montreal to Saint-Terre, and Jasper to Prince Rupert. However, as every route is unprofitable, every route receives government subsidies. As the Toronto area drifted out of sight and the urban area transitions to the snowy landscape of Ontario, the train crew handed out some savoury snacks and some drinks to get us refreshed for the journey ahead. And as if our journey wasn't already great so far, about an hour into our journey, we received a very welcome bit of news. So we got upgraded a little bit. There are 3 of us, and usually apparently they book seats together. But the thing is, we booked separately, so it didn't show that we were together. So when the train crew found out, they just straight up gave us this free space. So yeah, we got upgraded. So let's run through this again. Now we have even more legroom than before, still the same cup holders and coat hangers as before, but now we are actually face to face with Skylar, and we have an actual table instead of the foldable tray table we thought we were going to have. So if you're traveling as a group of 3 or 4, make sure your tickets are part of the same booking. It's 100% worth it. Because we were traveling with Skylar, our upgrade came with a complimentary French lesson too.
It is one of those parents, like French towns and whatever, because I used to say reads back in the day. And they would say this as well.
At around 2 PM, the crew came around taking meal orders. I got a veggie curry, a bread roll, a small salad, Evie got chow mein, and Skylar got something vaguely chickeny. Anyway, that's besides the point, we did enjoy what we got. Sometime later, they handed out complimentary truffles, and if I could steal more, I most certainly would have. While we had our meals, we were interrupted by the rumbling of something. A freight train. A really long freight train.
Thank you.
This is the freight train. Jesus Christ, it's long. That's it?
Première en avant de nous. On s'excuse de l'inconvénient. On vous remercie de votre compréhension.
And would you like
Do you, do you want to explain the situation?
Perfect. Butter.
Yes, I can. You see, in the UK, we've got like LNER trains on Network Rail tracks. What we've got here is we've got Via Rail on CN tracks. Unlike Network Rail, CN is a freight company, and they operate loads of freight, and they have their own trains. So it's like, it's my train track. If you want to borrow it, it's like you're going to have to wait until I've played with my train track. I get first dibs, you're second. It's kind of like Jimmy's for Alpha Brother, and Dewey's for like Beta Brother. That's the situation. We're delayed because of freight train. That's a TLDR. Thank you, goodbye.
Between the occasional delays to let freight pass, we spent the next few hours just sightseeing and talking to a local guy behind us, and he tells us that he makes this journey on the regular. So we chatted and compared our experiences as Brits to that of his as a Canadian.
Over in the UK, I used to volunteer at one of, in my opinion, the best aviation museums in the country. Brooklyn, which is also the first F1, first like racetrack.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Very like smaller journeys which we took rather than the big ones. So sometimes
Yeah,
it
like
was very different.
Vancouver to Victoria, I think is like 2.5 hours, something like that.
But there was a absolutely gorgeous bar we went to called Stormcrow Manor, and it's just in like one of these standalone mansion houses, and it's all Dungeons and Dragons and nerd themed inside. It was brilliant. I had their boutique, and my god, it was.
Hearing other people's experiences is truly the most overlooked aspect of traveling around the world that people generally do not consider. And the general lack of a language barrier here made this truly front and center of our time in Canada. Everyone we met was just so nice, so accommodating, and they were just eager to chat with us wherever we were. Eventually, as it always does though, nature calls. Via Rail has spacious bathrooms and plenty of handrails for accessibility. They offer the right amenities and there really isn't anything to complain about, aside from it sounding like the gates of hell. 9 out of 10. A cool little fact, just like a mile that way, like maybe not even, that is the US border, that's upstate New York. So we've just been kind of edging, as you say, we've just been edging New York for like 2 hours. Much longer than that. That might well be. It never ceases to amuse me that I get so tied up and enthusiastic about these imaginary lines drawn on maps because they're completely arbitrary. It's just one bit of land, another bit of land, but it's just decided by humans. But in any case, I'm very excited whenever I cross one of those lines and I'll never get tired of it. Anyway, we're in Quebec. It's not so long after that we cross a major bridge to enter another major urban area, and the intercom finally sounds, telling us that we are now in Montreal. Immediately, the feel of Montreal is vastly different to that of Ontario. Where Ontario is very Americanized with plank veneers and concrete, Montreal maintains a distinctly bricky and European sensibility about it. We absolutely adored Montreal. We met a really lively community of people there and made quite a few new friends. We spent pretty much every night eating poutine and going to a queer sports bar called Champs. I personally have a pretty distinctive memory of the snowy Christmas postcard-esque walk back to the hotel one night under the fluorescent streetlights. Needless to say, we are almost definitely gonna revisit in the near future. Thank you for joining us on our journey up the corridor, and if you enjoyed, we'd really appreciate you liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing this with your friends. Currently, we are relying on our footage backlog and savings to keep these episodes coming out at a consistent pace, and we would really like to have the means to keep doing it. As of right now, our goal is to have the channel begin partially subsidizing our travels by the end of the year, but that would be quite a challenge. We really hope to see you again in 2 weeks on the 8th of June for our Air Inuit day trip to Puvenatuq in the far north of Quebec. Until then, it's goodbye.